Hi there, friends, and welcome to my Solarpunk world. We are now on episode 4, and I am currently working on a little bit of a terraforming project here. You may recall in the last episode I built a hotel for my villagers, and in this episode I want to kind of connect the landscape between my house and the hotel. I'm currently trying to get the terrain ready, so here's a little before and after. It's very subtle, but there's the transition right there. So this is what I've done so far, and I am getting ready to start kind of working on connecting these landscapes. And I think the first thing that I want to do is kind of mark roughly where the path is going to go. So this is not going to be, the actual path, but this will be kind of a rough outline of the track that the path is going to follow, and then I'll come through later and kind of refine it and then put down actual blocks that are going to be the path. And so this will kind of just be kind of a starting point for me. And so now that I've kind of marked a rough outline, let me hop into FreeCam and see how this looks from above. So you can see it kind of comes along this way, weaves through here, and then passes right in front of my house here, where there's the trail that'll connect up. And then I might kind of rework this path, maybe turn it to go this way instead, and then landscape this area. But one thing, now that I'm looking at it from an aerial view, I think what I would like to do is kind of conform the trail to this natural landscape here. So instead of going up this spot, I would like to come right here, because it just feels more organic to kind of follow the natural curvature of the ground. And also, looking at it from above, I might fill in this little low space here as well, because it just seems like it doesn't fit in. So I'm going to do that really quick as well. So let's see how this is looking now after a few adjustments. If I hop into FreeCam, so I moved this just a little bit. Previously, I had kind of gone down this slope, and I thought it looked more natural, kind of lining up with this little indentation in each layer. See how it kind of indents here as it goes up each layer. So the trail kind of aligns there. And now, instead of going up this way like it did before, I have it going up this way to kind of follow the natural curvature of the landscape. And so I think that this trail looks a little bit more organic, like a trail that people actually would, walk and wear down over time, kind of the beaten path. And another thing that I think would be fun to do is right in here, I want to actually tear down a few layers and almost make it like a passageway with, walls on each side. And I'm going to go ahead and dig that out really quick. All right, I think this is doing what I wanted to do. So if I go back into FreeCam, the trail kind of comes up here, hits this little bottleneck, and then lets out on the other side. And then what I think I'll do is maybe replace these dirt walls here with stone bricks, perhaps. I think that would look good, almost like a man-made retaining wall for the path to go right down the middle of. But before I hop onto that, there is one thing that I wanted to address really quick. In my previous video, I got a comment from RavenPain87 mentioning that instead of using string, I could snip the glowberries. And that is one of those things that, for some reason, I didn't realize that it would work if they had berries on the bottom vine here, but sure enough, it works. So I am going to go through and snip all of the glowberries and get rid of the string underneath, because that just looks a little cleaner and I don't have these little random bits of string hovering in the air. So thank you, RavenPain87, for that tip, and I'm going to do that really quick. I have removed all of the string now and snipped all of these glowberry vines, so that'll be a lot cleaner. I don't have to worry about the strings hitboxes popping up as I walk through, so that's nice. And then I also got a comment from a Hylian warrior that mentioned that my fresh animations did not appear to be working properly. I looked into it, and sure enough, I had another mod that was essentially canceling out most of the animations of fresh animations. So I got that resolved, and now, as you can see, the villagers have even more animations that are nice and, just make things a little more enjoyable. The iron golems also have different animations, and many other mobs actually have animations, so as I play the game, you'll get to see a lot of the special animations that are added by fresh animations. But anyway, back to this road. I think I want to make it a mud and mud brick road. I was thinking for a while about what kind of material I wanted to use, and I do think it's an important decision because this is not just going to be connecting, my house to the hotel over here. As this village starts to expand and become larger and larger, I'm going to be connecting it all with these roads, and I want to keep them consistent. So as this starts to grow, I want to make sure that whatever road I pick, I'm going to be happy with in the long run. And I think that for a Solarpunk society, I think that a mud road makes a lot of sense. It's, sustainable, and I would like to imagine that in Solarpunk society, there's probably not a ton of automotive traffic, so it's probably going to be primarily foot traffic or, maybe bicycles or something like that. And with that being the case, I think that a mud road makes the most sense. And that means that I'm going to need to get a lot of mud. And I know that you can make farms that you can make mud, but those can be kind of tedious and annoying, so I think I'm going to make my way to the mangrove swamp, which is just right over that way, about 1,500 blocks, and while I'm over there, I'm hoping I can also get some frogs, because at some point, I'm going to want to make a frog light farm. That's probably not going to be for a little while, because I haven't gone to the nether yet, but frog lights are probably my favorite light source in this game. I don't know why, I just really love frog lights, and therefore I want to have the frogs ready so that when the time comes, I don't have to do a scramble to find those. Also, I need to work on fixing spots like this where the path block, since the path block is, one bit shorter than all the other blocks, then stuff like that peeks through. There are a few other areas where you can see like the jack-o'-lantern. I think there's one over here. Yeah, right here. You can see the jack-o'-lantern, and here's dead space underneath this ground here. So I need to fix that as well, but since I'm going to be replacing all of this with mud, that should solve that problem. But for now, I'm going to make my way to the mangrove swamp. Okay, so I have filled up the entire inventory of my donkey with mud, and I've also got a lot of mud. Before I do any more mining, I do want to breed a couple of these frogs and get some tadpoles. While I still have some inventory space, I want to get some tadpoles to take with me, because as I mentioned, at some point I'm going to be making a frog light farm, and if I can get the frogs now, I might as well do it. And we now have 3 tadpoles. 1, 2, and... oh, I missed. There we go. 3 tadpoles. Okay, so I have my 3 tadpoles. I think it's time to take my donkey and my frogs and head on back home. And switch it to this view so that I can keep an eye on the leashes. And time to head back home. Here we are back at my little pond right by my house here, and what I did for now is I just put some fence posts underneath the ground and leashed the frogs to underground fence posts so that they can't run away, and kind of keeping them by the side of the pond here. So we've got this guy over here, then we've got one guy back over that way, then we've got him over there, and then we've got this guy here. So I've got my 4 frogs here, and then I've got my 3 tadpoles. I think I am going to head up into the mountains where it's snowy so that I can get the green variant, and then I also need to get the orange variant, but those will be things I can do later. My main objective, that was a little side quest at some point. My main objective right now is this path, and so I got all my mud over here. I unloaded my donkey so he doesn't have anything left, and I just kind of put this here because it was a central spot right along where the path is going to go. But the next thing I need to do is convert all this mud into mud bricks, and luckily I still have a whole bunch of wheat from when I've been going through all the various villages that I've stumbled across, picking up hay bales along the way. So I'm going to run back and grab that and then get all of this mud converted into mud bricks. So after I searched all through all my chests, I've got a little over 2 full stacks of hay bales plus this little stack of wheat here. So that should be a decent amount to get me started. Okay, so I've got a little bit of packed mud to get started with, and this will at least be enough to get me from the hotel over to here, and then I'll also have plenty of mud left over for when I expand. So I'm going to go ahead and just stash all of this here for now, and as the viewers may have noticed, I am not the best at inventory management. I've got this chest monster over here. The chests in my base are not at all organized. I've got this chest here. So that is part of my upcoming home renovation that I'm going to be working on later in the episode. Is I'm also going to organize my storage a little bit better. But that will come after I build this path. And so I want a little combination of mud and mud bricks. And the first thing that I would like to do is actually dig out a small little section and put down a sample section of the road so that I can see what other blocks I would like to add in for kind of different color palettes and just to kind of experiment with. And as I'm placing the mud bricks and the packed mud, I'd like to try to be as random as possible. I feel like sometimes with things like this, when I'm overthinking and I try to be really intentional with the block placement, sometimes it just doesn't look as good, and a lot of times I find it looks better to not really think about it and just throw it down with minimal thought. So that's how I'm going to approach this road building. I'm going to try not to think too much or be too intentional with the blocks that I place. And so now that I've got this small section of road built out with the packed mud and mud bricks, I'm going to go grab a variety of blocks that I think might look good to sprinkle in just to add some texturing to the road, add some variety, and then I'm going to experiment a little bit just to see if I can come up with some ideas that look good. Okay, I'm back with some polished granite, regular granite, mossy stone bricks, rooted dirt, glow lichen, and stone buttons. And so what I'm going to do is just kind of at random sprinkle in some of these blocks. And again, this is something I don't want to be too intentional with, because I feel like it's something that almost if you're too intentional, it doesn't look right. And as opposed to if you're just kind of random with it, I think it can look a lot better. And I want to sprinkle in some stone bricks. I was hesitant about this because it is a very sharp color change from the mud bricks to the mossy stone bricks, but I think because the pattern matches up and then the green from the grass to the mossy stone bricks works, and then that's also why I brought with me some glow lichen, because if you sprinkled some of this in, it kind of adds some gray to the color palette so that when you do see the mossy stone bricks, it doesn't look as sharp of a contrast. I'm also going to sprinkle in some buttons here and there just to kind of look like little stones on the trail. That way, when you see this mossy stone brick, it doesn't look quite as out of place. We'll put that there, and so I'm going to just kind of run through and randomly replace some of these blocks with these other blocks that I got, and then see how it looks and see if I like it. I think this looks pretty good. We've just got a random sprinkling of packed mud, mud bricks, polished granite, regular granite, rooted dirt, mossy stone bricks, and then the occasional glow lichen and stone button thrown in, and I feel like those details kind of tie it together. For now, I think I'm going to go ahead and just finish up the path going this way and then going that way, and then once I've got it fully connected from my house over there to the hotel, then I'll consider how I want to move forward with the finer details. As I was out here working on the path, a group of patrolling pillagers wandered by, so I caught them in boats, and I'm going to go ahead and put them all in little boxes just like I did with that other group over there, which is now gone. But I relocated them just because they were kind of an eyesore. But I'm going to catch these guys and do the same thing where I break their bows. I just have to get in close without them hurting me. So, nope. There we go. Don't shoot me, please. And I don't want to make the same mistake that I made with that one, where I forgot to put a light source and then a creeper spawned, and when I tried to open it up, it exploded. So let me just put that right there. Hey. Okay. And I think I'm actually going to go ahead and kill the patrol captain, because I want to get that ominous potion. So So let's get a box all around you. Hey. Hey, you stop it, you. Okay. So really quick, I'm gonna go ahead and kill this guy. Voluntary exile. Very good. And finish. Ah, you stop it. And let me eat a potato. Hey, stop it, you. There we go. Okay, there we go. So, I did get that ominous bottle, and I got the ominous banner, so that is exciting. And I've got these two guys trapped in here. At some point when I've got some downtime to go AFK, I'll hop inside here, get in the boats with them, and sit with them until their crossbows break. And then once their crossbows are broken, I will relocate them somewhere where they are not an eyesore, because this is obviously not a great place to keep them. And as a matter of fact, I'll show you. I mentioned that I relocated the other pillagers. I will show you exactly where they are at, and I will probably go ahead and move these guys over there after I've broken their crossbows. But I was just looking for somewhere that I could put them to be out of the way, and they are right here. So I've got this pillager and this pillager just sitting here in their boats, no crossbows because they're broken, and I'll probably bring those other pillagers over here in time. And at some point I've got plans for these guys, but for right now, until it's time for those plans, I don't like you here. Until I'm ready for those plans, I'm just going to keep them kind of locked away, and at some point I will incorporate them into some fun stuff. But what I've been working on so far, I've just went through and added some bamboo, and I've got string above them. I'm not done with that. Oh, this is where I was working as soon as the pillagers showed up, and I promptly stopped working on that to go grab boats. But I've been putting bamboo along the way and putting string to limit how tall the bamboo can grow. And then another thing that I want to do is place an occasional cobblestone slab, and then I place water, so it's now waterlogged, and then I can grow sugarcane. And normally sugarcane needs to be next to water, but as far as the game is concerned, this counts as water. So that's a sneaky little way. If you want to plant some sugarcane and you don't want there to be visible water, you can do that. And you could use whatever slab you want, but I think that the mossy cobblestone kind of blends in well with the grass and also with the other decor that I've got. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, and then I will continue to add more flowers once that's done. And as I do this, I gotta say, I am glad that I chose a base so close to a flower forest, because all the flowers that I used as I went through and decorated this, it would have been a pain to get all those if I was not didn't have such easy access to the flower forest over there. I'm trying to look for anywhere that I have those buried jack-o'-lanterns and just want to replace them with these. And then I'll probably throw some in just in random spots that I think will look nice. Is there any other jack-o'-lanterns that I missed that are near the trail? We'll go with you. And maybe right here for the last one, because I'm all out of walls after that. Okay. So yeah, next step is I need to get some mossy stone and regular stone bricks and change this from dirt into kind of a nicer looking, like a retaining wall almost. Okay, and so I did some crafting, I did some smelting, and I now have a full stack of cracked stone bricks, mossy stone bricks, and tough bricks that I think I'll be able to use in combination to make a nice little retaining wall on each side. I also brought some moss blocks to occasionally toss in on the top row to kind of blend it in with the grass above. But the first step, I suppose, is I just need to take out all of these layers of dirt. All right, and I think that that is doing what I want. I need to go grab a dead bush, and I also need to replant some of these plants that I accidentally killed while I did this. All right, I've got my dead bush. I really need to stop doing that. And the dead bush goes I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sure that this is infuriating to watch me constantly running through sweetberry bushes because I don't pay attention to where I'm walking. I hope you can find it in your hearts to forgive me. But I think that for now, I am pretty satisfied with how this turned out. So actually, I'll wait till the morning and then I'll take an aerial view. But in the meantime, I'm going to make my way back towards my house because that is part 2 of this episode. Part 1 was building this trail to kind of connect my base to the hotel and make everything kind of flow together, look uniform and consistent. And I'm pretty happy with that now that that is done. Part 2 of the video, as promised at the end of episode 3, is it is finally time to do something with this interior. So first let me get some sleep. But really quick, before we do that, let's hop into FreeCam just to see what this looks like from above, give everyone an idea of what I did. So you may recall originally the path went up this way and connected over here. I got rid of that trail and rerouted it this way, so it kind of goes around this little hill that my house is sitting on. So I've got the trail, it goes through here, and over here, I wanted to follow kind of the natural terrain. I wanted the path to kind of follow the natural curves. And then we go through here, we cut through our little bottleneck area here, and then it goes down to the hotel, which I will also get to landscaping at some point. And as you can see from up here, the landscaping that I did just kind of sticks close to the trail. I didn't extend too far out, but in time, as this grows, I will landscape with each new build that I build along the trail so that this will all start to really come together as a very uniform and consistent build. But now it is time to figure out what to do with this interior. And I admittedly am not an interior person. I'm going to try really hard with this one. I'm going to do my best. But I've been watching a lot of other Minecraft YouTubers who are really good at interiors, trying to get some inspiration. One of my favorite YouTubers to watch is Barse. He is really good at interiors, and so been watching a lot of his videos for inspiration, and in general just trying to get an idea of what I plan to do in here. So now it's time to clear everything out to make space and get to work. And so I dug out a space in my basement to serve as my new storage room, which I did not decorate just yet, but I'll get around to decorating it eventually. But for now, at least I have a storage room, and then I moved all the resources from my base and from my hotel into the storage room. Once all of my materials were moved into my new basement storage, the next step was to put down a floor and put up some walls. I decided to go with stripped acacia for the floors and found a pattern that I thought looked really cool, and for the walls, I went with pale oak planks. And with the floors and walls complete, it was now time to get started decorating. And for this portion of the recording, I was voice recording while I did this decorating, but when I got to editing and listening back, I just did not do a very good job. I was kind of rambling, and a lot of the stuff that I was talking about was just kind of boring. One of my favorite YouTubers is Shrammy, and if anyone watches any Shrammy videos, this is something he talks about, how sometimes you're having a good recording day and sometimes you're not, and in this instance, I was not having a good recording day, so I just decided to scrap that audio and re-record, and I'm just going to kind of narrate what I did through this portion. So of course I'm putting down the decorated pots with pot and dead bush and leaf combination that I've done many times before. That's one of my favorite ways to decorate. And you may have noticed the first thing I did was start smelting some clay into terracotta, and that is because I'm going to be using glazed terracotta to make some floor patterns. I think that that can be a fun thing to use glazed terracotta to kind of look like rugs because they have those intricate patterns, and I think that that's a fun thing to do. So I currently have some terracotta smelting so that I can turn it into glazed terracotta. I also thought that a fireplace would be a nice touch, so I built a deep slate fireplace. And at some point I do think it would look nice to decorate the mantle of the fireplace with small little items, but a lot of the items that I think would look good on the mantle require silk touch, and unfortunately that silk touch shovel that I found in a ruined portal back in episode 1 broke a little while back when I was getting coral, so it's probably going to be a little bit before I get silk touch again, but as soon as I have silk touch I want to decorate the mantle of this fireplace with neat little things. And then I built a simple little dinner table with pale oak stairs. Nothing fancy, a design that people have probably seen 100 million times before, but it's simple, it's easy, and I think it looks nice. And then once I built the table, I decorated it with some pressure plates to kind of look like plates, and then I decorated the tabletop with a cherry sapling in a pot, some candles, and some sea pickles, just to kind of make it look like the table is used and, like the house is lived in. I built these little planter boxes down this hallway here, and used a couple grass blocks that I've gotten from killing Enderman, and then just used a random assortment of flowers that I thought looked good for the planter box. And then to add a little light, I built these light fixtures just using chains, lanterns, and white banners. I made some hang lower than others. There was no real rhyme or reason to it. I just thought it looked kind of nice to hang them at different levels. So overall, this is nothing fancy or exotic, but I thought it looked nice. And then once my glazed terracotta was done smelting, I got to work putting that down. And my goal was to kind of make it just look like a nice cozy rug in front of the fireplace. I like using glazed terracotta for this because the patterns can kind of make it look like an intricate rug, and you can use all kinds of different color combinations in different arrangements in ways that can just look really neat and creative. It's fun to experiment and mess around with and just see what kind of cool patterns people can come up with. And then the next step in the decorating process was to hang paintings on the wall. So I made a bunch of paintings and then just kind of started hanging them at random and then rearranging them, and I would take them down, put them up until I finally got the painting I wanted. It's always a fun process trying to get the painting you want and get it to fit in the spot you want it. But if you try hard enough, eventually you can usually get it to do what you want it to do. And after a little bit of time putting paintings up, taking them down, putting them back up again, rearranging them, I eventually got to a point where I got all the paintings on the wall in ways that I thought looked good, and I am happy with this, so now it's time to continue on to the next phase of decorating. I wanted to add a touch of greenery throughout the house because, after all, the theme is Solarpunk, and greenery is an important aspect of Solarpunk, and so I grabbed some leaves and just kind of tucked them up in some corners and random places throughout the house. I thought it looked nice. And now, moving on to the upstairs area of the house, I made another one of those rugs with some glazed terracotta, and I added some wool. I tried to use some colors that I thought tied together nicely, but also contrasted nicely, so we've got that cyan, the oranges, the yellows, the blues, and I kind of like this pattern. I also added more paintings in the upstairs area, and I put leaves up in the corners, up in the ceilings like I did downstairs, and just added some various decorations to make the upstairs look nice. I thought that this room would make a nice space for an office, put a desk in right by this window where you could sit there and overlook the mountains outside, and so I put together just a quick and easy little desk. Since I still don't have easy access to leather to make books, I used chiseled bookshelves, and then once I have access to books easily, then I'll change these out for regular bookshelves, and then I just kind of decorated the desk to make it look nice. I'm pretty content now with the interior decorating, and while I was doing all this, I had one other flash of inspiration for something I would like to do on my trail connecting my house to the hotel, so now I'm going to run out and put this into action. I want to try to make string lights, so I'm going to put that over here, and then put those there, and if I put a boat right here, I think I can attach, I missed that to there, and I need to get this lead perfectly lined up with the center of those. So if I turn the boat this way, is that lined up? Oh no, let me get back up there. Is this perfectly lined up? It looks like it might be. So the reason I want to do that is because then I do that. I'm going to put candles there, there, and there, and then light those candles. And then I can remove those. And it looks a little bit like string lights. At least if you use your imagination, which that's what Minecraft is all about. And I think that that's really neat. So the problem now is I've got this boat here that doesn't look great, just having a boat on the middle of the ground. And so what I'm going to do is first get rid of that. I am going to put the boat there. There we go. Okay, there we go. And then the other part of that is just putting some bushes around to just kind of conceal that. There we go. And so there's one done, and as this sweet berry bush grows, it will even more so kind of conceal this hidden there. So now I need to do the same thing, and I think I can get one, going from this pole across here. Okay, and so now I've got kind of some little string lights dangling above here, and I just think that's a cute little touch that came to mind, and I thought to myself, I need to do that while it's on my mind so that I don't forget, and I'm happy that I did it. Neat. The next thing that I want to do is add a nice custom tree. I feel like it's a Minecraft YouTuber rite of passage to build a custom tree, and I'm trying to think of where I think it would look good, so I'm going to go ahead and pop into FreeCam, and I've been trying to think about where would be a good spot. Initially, I was thinking it would be nice over here, but then thinking about just kind of balancing out the area, I've got this big mountain right here, so if I put it there it would kind of blend in, as opposed to over here I've got this nice open valley, some nice sky in the background, so somewhere in this vicinity is where I would like to put a tree. So that begs the next question, where is the best spot? I feel like if I put it over here it would be too far away from the house, and if I put it here, I feel like it would just look kind of unbalanced, if I'm looking at the house from this angle and the trees all the way down here. So then I was thinking, what if I put it behind the pond, way over here? That way, if I am back here, looking at it from this side, the tree is right here, filling that empty space where the valley is. I think that could create a nice skyline so that viewing my house from a distance just looks really cool. So I think I'm going to get to work now building this custom tree, and similarly to how I built my tiny little rooftop tree up there, I'm going to use some gray blocks for the tree trunk. So I'm thinking tuff and cobblestone primarily. I might sprinkle in a few other blocks. But to get started, I'm just going to run down to my storage, grab the blocks that I need, and then I'm going to get started building this custom tree. Alright, so I apologize for the timeline here being just a little out of order, but I didn't want to break that time lapse up. I thought it was cool to have the time lapse show the tree build from the beginning to the very end, but also, while I was in the middle of building this tree, before I added the leaves, I just thought that this tree trunk shape looked really cool, so I wanted to get a recording of this and just acknowledge how cool this looks even before adding the leaves, but of course I'm still going to add the leaves. I just wanted to make sure that I could show this on camera. The tree build is complete, and it's a beautiful sunrise directly behind it, and I could not be happier with how this turned out. One of the things that I wanted to do was make it asymmetrical, and I find that in nature a lot of things are not perfect, and I think there's beauty in that imperfection. So rather than make a tree that comes up to like a perfect, big circular top, I like that it's kind of angled off to the side like this. Let's take a closer look and talk about some of the details that I incorporated into this. So one of the things that I have discovered in building custom trees is that you don't want to use too many leaves. That took me a long time to figure out. I would really just pack in as many leaves as I could, and it just doesn't look good. You want to leave space for light to shine through, because that's, when you're looking at a tree in the real world, light is able to shine through. So you put too many leaves, and the light's not going to come through, and it just doesn't look natural. The other thing, I used some tuff, some mossy cobblestone, regular cobblestone, and then I added in green glass panes, and those kind of add some connection between these walls. I could have added a whole another wall here or another wall here, but instead, if I just put those glass panes there, they touch at the corner just slightly, and it just kind of adds a nice angle to it. And I didn't do that at every connection, but some connections I think that looks nice, and since it's a green glass pane, it really just blends right in. I also occasionally sprinkled in some gates. I put some moss blocks with some tall grass in some spots. I added glowberries. There are some dead bushes in some spots of this. I don't see any from this spot, but let's go ahead and pop into FreeCam so that I can see from different angles. So here's just a straight on look, and oh, there's that dead bush right there. So if we circle around, I wanted to make sure that from every angle that this looked good, and it's a difficult thing to make sure that every area has the right amount of leaves, not too many, not too few, not any dead space, but not any overpopulated space. So I took a long time trying to figure out where was the best placement for all the leaves, and now that it's done, I just am really happy with this. So now, I think that that's pretty much all that I have in store for this episode. I know that the original plan was the path and the interior decorating, so this tree was just kind of an added bonus. But before we wrap things up, I'm just going to take one final walk down my trail over here just to see the entire thing in its finished state. Alright, so here we are at the village that is soon to be demolished, but I'm going to go ahead and walk the trail, and I'm actually going to do this without any commentary, just to kind of show off the scenery and just to kind of let people absorb the scenery without having to listen to me talk over it. So as I walk through, just take it all in and enjoy this view. Alright, I hope everyone enjoyed the scenery and enjoyed that walk as I walked down this trail that I just created. I'm really happy with how that turned out. I'm also really happy with my tree up there, and I still need to do some landscaping down in this area. I think I'll do that between episodes. I feel like I've done enough landscaping on camera at this point that people don't need to see me landscape this, so I'll probably do that before the next episode, and then I think in the next episode it's time to get started with the village renovation. So I'm gonna demolish that village that's over there, and it's time to get started building some new houses so that the villagers that are currently staying in the hotel can move into houses. That'll open up some space for some new tourism, some new visitors to come and visit and have a place to stay here at the hotel, and that will just lead to the growth of my little town here. As always, I just want to say thank you to everyone who watched my video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And if you have any comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, on the tree, on my landscaping, the decorating, any of it. I just love hearing what people have to say. And I'm really happy with how everything's starting to come together now. The world is starting to feel a little more cohesive now that I've connected the hotel to my house. I've done some landscaping. It's just all coming together, and I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to keep building in this world, and I hope that everyone out there is also excited to continue in this world with me. Until next time, I just want to say one more time, thank you so much to every single one of you, and I will see you all next time.